This news and this news is very bad for a variety of reasons, which I'm going to cover in this video, and so let's talk about where this all began. Claymore, the anime, has officially been removed from Crunchyroll. There is no longer any platform where it can be streamed legally. Then a day later, Crunchyroll removed two more anime from their platform, Death Parade and 91 Days. Like Claymore, you can technically still watch it through their Amazon Video channel and Roku channel. With that said, there's now no other legal way to watch these anime as of reporting. And this right here actually isn't even given full clarity here. The only reason why Amazon and Roku even have 91 Days, Death Parade, and Claymore is because of their partnership with Crunchyroll. To kind of give a very simple explanation, if you have a Crunchyroll subscription and you also use Amazon Prime, you can link the accounts, and so any content that you could theoretically watch on Crunchyroll can now be watched on your Amazon Prime account. And so the only reason why these shows, for instance, are on these platforms is thanks to Crunchyroll. And with Crunchyroll removing these anime, it's only a matter of time, probably in the upcoming weeks, to where these anime will be officially removed as well from not just Amazon Prime, but also Roku. So let's get into what this means, why this is bad, and let's just talk about the big picture. Why is Crunchyroll removing 91 Days, Death Parade, and Claymore? Well, the reason is very simple. It's because of licensing. And when it comes to any anime and comes to any new anime season, Crunchyroll enters into a bidding war with rivaling companies like Netflix, for instance, or Disney, and they bid for a license of an anime. And if Crunchyroll wins the licensing war, they get that anime for a certain amount of time. May it be a year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever, indefinitely. It really just comes down to the licensing agreement that Crunchyroll gets from the company that gives them the license. And so in this case, the reason why Claymore, 91 Days, and Death Parade are now being removed from the platform is because the licensing agreement that Crunchyroll had with the people that gave them the license has officially ran out. Which means that because they no longer have the license, they cannot legally host this content on their platform anymore. That is just how licensing works with anything, not just, let's say, Crunchyroll, but just pretty much any company. However, this really hints at a bigger issue at large, and that is digital and lost media. So this leads into the big issue, and that is, with you no longer being able to access these series in a legal way, that means the only way to legally obtain these series, if they're never put back on a streaming platform, is by seeking out physical copies, like of Claymore, Death Parade, and 91 Days. And obviously, when people get word that these series are now technically rare, because they're no longer being able to be streamed online legally, you're gonna have scalpers that's gonna look at these products and be like, huh, this BD DVD of this physical media that was worth $20 a day ago now theoretically could be worth $200 because now people want it for not just collecting reasons, but to be able to watch the show. The exact same thing happens with Nintendo games. We all know about what scalpers do with games and consoles and stuff. It's common sense stuff. And that theoretically will happen to physical copies of these individual anime that, are now no longer being able to watch legally anywhere streaming wise. And so this gets into the next big issue, which is digital hell. With 2020s, well, 2010s is kind of when it really started kicking off, but in the 2020s, there's definitely a big transition period now to where everything is digital. Physical media, let's be honest, it's dying. It's not as popular or big as it once was. You have basically most games now that are created, they give you a code and a package, and even though it's a physical copy, it's just a code, and then you download it, and there you go. You don't even have a physical disc anymore. It's more common than it used to be. And the same thing is technically happening with anime, where a lot of shows are streamed digitally. A lot of companies might not even invest in physical copies anymore, because why? They could just house it on a streaming platform, make revenue, ad revenue, whatever, there you go, and then they sell a little bit of figures and merchandise here and there, but most stuff nowadays, they might not need to have a physical copy of something to release. Now, this is not strictly just targeting Crunchyroll content like anime and stuff, this just goes for anything, honestly, when it comes to physical and digital content. And if an entire genre of media, a big focus of the media is like digital, then a lot of content has the capabilities of not just getting scalped for physical copies, but becoming lost media. And this is where I want to transition into the big worry I have and why this is really bad. Over a year ago, Recreators had the exact same thing happen to it that is now currently happening to Claymore, 91 Days, and Death Parade. And since then, over a year ago, there is still no legal way to actually watch Recreators, which was originally airing on the Amazon platform. And now, if you want to watch the series at all, you have to go watch it illegally through pirate sites. I will get into that in a moment, because that is a conversation for this video. The point of the matter is that you can no longer legally watch Recreators, and because you can't legally watch it, and there's not a lot of conversation around it, the series eventually, there's not any interest in it, which means that it will fade in memory, fade out of people's, conversation pieces for anime or manga or whatever, and eventually, it's going to become lost. Now, how does it become lost? Very, very simple, actually. Copyright takedowns of pirate sites. I guess this is a perfect time to talk about that. So, yes, Claymore, Death Parade, 91 Days, and even Recreators, you can technically still watch online on pirate sites. And for the indefinite future, most likely you will be able to. However, there is a chance, and the chance gets higher and higher as more and more pirate sites are taken down, and as a series falls out of favor or falls out of the conversation piece of discussion within the anime and manga community. For example, Recreators. Recreators isn't necessarily, unpopular, but it's not popular. It's niche, I would say. It's a very niche series. And give or take a few years from now, maybe a decade or two from now, it might be incredibly hard to find Recreators even on a pirate site. And the reason why I say that is because of site takedowns. When you have these copyright holders like Crunchyroll, Sony, whatever, Kadokawa, they come in, they look at these pirate sites, they take these sites down. And it's well within the rights of these rights holders, these people that own the copyright, to take these sites down. As much as you want to argue about it, that's the truth. They're in the rights. If their property is on that, it makes sense why they take it down. The problem is that sometimes when these pirate sites are completely taken offline, there is content on those sites that you just cannot legally obtain anywhere worldwide. It's impossible to obtain it, which means that if the site is taken down, and there is no way to legally obtain this content, and technically there was nobody that even had the licensing for it anymore, and someone's trying to reinstate a site once again, put up another pirate site or whatever, it's possible, the chances grow, that there will be anime that is lost to time, that you will no longer be able to find online anymore on pirate sites or whatever, because there, like I said, no conversation around them, and the pirate sites that they were on are now gone. And if someone creates a new pirate site, they might not even have those anime episodes anymore to put on said site. So, licensing hell, especially if most of the media is strictly digital, opens up that doorway. It opens up the gate where there can now be anime that is permanently lost to time, and you can never watch again unless a company officially picks up the license once again. That's the issue. And I feel like this issue with Crunchyroll is a pretty big deal. Like I said, this isn't necessarily strictly a Crunchyroll problem. As much as I would want to blame them completely for it, it's not fully their problem. It's just how the world works with pretty much any media. I don't like that, though, but it's how it works. However, I do think the reason why Crunchyroll can be blamed here is because they have a monopoly. Yeah, there is rivaling factions, Netflix and Amazon and Disney, but let's be honest, they're not as heavily investing into anime as Crunchyroll is. It's not their primary focus. And because Crunchyroll has such a stranglehold on the market, they kill off any competition. So even if theoretically Crunchyroll doesn't have a license for Claymore, Death Parade, or 91 Days, these companies that theoretically could pick up that license won't pick up that license because they can't exist in the actual environment that Crunchyroll has created as a monopoly. Rivaling factions can't really exist. And also, these properties, the reason why they have fallen out of favor, or the reason why there is no license to them, is because, like I said, they are obscure. They're niche. They're not as popular anymore, and so there is no money potentially that could be made as much besides very big fans of the said stories or rampant collectors of the actual physical media. So that is the problem, is that even rivaling companies won't even probably pick these titles up because there's probably not a lot of money to really gain unless there is a big incentive and push for these series to be somewhere, which technically there should be because obviously, they're very important, but the point is they won't bring home the money, the bread, like something like JJK or Chainsaw Man, Dawn to Dawn, or whatever, if you get those licenses. So you get the point. So Crunchyroll has crafted an environment to where even if there is a company that rises up wanting to pick up these, they couldn't survive. Because they would also need to have a constant inflow of new anime, but they can't outbid Crunchyroll because Crunchyroll just has too much money. And then on top of that, you know, they can't just survive off of obscure stuff because they would have to wait for licenses to fall out of favor with Crunchyroll or whatever company to be able to pick them up. And obviously this can happen continuously, but it can happen sometimes sporadically where it might not happen for a good while. So yeah, there's a lot of issues here, a lot of like fundamental issues for anybody that would try to pick up these series, and it makes me sad, man. Like, I really am very upset about this whole situation. It really just demonstrates not just a problem with Crunchyroll and their monopoly, but just the digital age and how a lot of things could be lost. Because it's only a matter of time until there is a series that is permanently lost that you could just not find anymore. I mean, hell, it might have already happened, and I'm just completely unaware of it. That's the danger here. How much content are we losing that we're completely unaware of? Anyways, I'll leave it at that. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, leave a like. Leave a comment too, because it helps with the algorithm and more people to notice my content. Greatly appreciate it. But, be safe. Chibi out.